Hi, this is session 6 of the GMM unit. In this session, we'll be looking at global strategies. And when I say global strategies, we'll look at two different types of strategies. One, market entry strategies and operational strategies. I have divided this session into two videos, so you will have part 1 and part 2. Under these two key focuses, these are our learning objectives. Be aware of this debate about whether to standardize or to adapt to different conditions and differentiate. 2. Identify different types of organizational structures that falls under operational strategies, and also to close the session to understand what makes a good international marketing manager, because as we all know, a lot depend on the human factor, how you strategize, how you implement, how you monitor, and how you control your marketing strategies and your marketing campaigns. All right, a quick look at market entry strategies. This is a step-by-step or stage-by-stage strategy that most organizations adopt for a long time. This is how organizations have become global entities. But having said that, I would like to remind you that we did discuss about certain organizations or the opportunities that especially SMEs have to become born global, to go international from the inception or within a few months of coming into operation. However, let's look at these market entry strategies. This will help you devise your marketing plans, your marketing and strategic planning process. Most organizations, in fact, start off their international presence with indirect exports, or some of course do have direct exports. Now, what is the difference between these two? When we say indirect exports, it means that you have a product locally, and then you, through a broker or an agent located locally in your domestic market, you send these products to the international market. And the broker or the agent have the direct contact with the overseas buyers or overseas agents, overseas distributors, etc. On the other hand, what it means by direct export is the intermediary, the broker or the agent, is located in a foreign market. Once you have established some sort of foreign collaboration like this, start exporting, then once you're established, you can become a larger international player. You can enter foreign markets in different ways. Licensing. You give the approval, your authority to produce your products or carry out your services on behalf of you to another party which is located in a different or foreign market, and we call this licensing. Remember, Eveready batteries were manufactured under license by Union Carbide in Sri Lanka. Franchising. McDonald's, Pizza Hut, KFC, all of them operate in Sri Lanka, for an example, so you all will be more familiar with this. None of those organizations are actually present by themselves in the Sri Lankan market, but they have franchised their brand. They have given the franchise to a local dealer, distributor, and agent. So they have the right to use the logos, the products, the methods, they are given the recipes, etc. Contract manufacturing is another way. Assembling in another part of the world, in a different market, in collaboration with a local agent, is another way of going into foreign production. Or then you can have fully integrated production facilities in foreign markets. So in any of these methods, a production company manufacturing products can enter and operate in the global environment. The highest level would be owning the entities or the organizations or production facilities in these markets that you operate in. That can come as way of joint ventures, alliances, or even acquisitions. You can go buy an organization which is already in operation in a foreign market, and you become the owner and you become an international player. So these are some of the market entry strategies that you can deploy in your strategic marketing plan in order to enter foreign markets. Although this is a more step-by-step process, you can select any of these market entry strategies for your products and services without going through this stage-by-stage process. Now, we spoke about standardization and adaptation. We said there is a debate. Some people, some organizations prefer to standardize all products and services and the way they operate across the markets that they operate, while other organizations like to adapt and differentiate in each of the markets or in each of the regions that they operate in. Now, when I say standardization and adaptation, most people generally refer to the standardization and adaptation and they refer to products or services, but it is not really limited to products or services. You can standardize your marketing objectives, your marketing strategies, how you operate. You can adapt or standardize. Most organizations select to standardize this for convenience and also for better governance purposes. Marketing mix, you can standardize, you can adapt. Mostly the products and the services can be standardized or adapted. Promotion may be or may not be depending on the markets. In certain markets, communication, there are different standards, different rules and regulations governing promotions. There are different cultural requirements. So therefore, you may have to adapt rather than standardize promotion. Distribution depends on the market mostly. So while for some products, standardization may be quite convenient and easy, for most products, the distribution may have to be adapted at least to a certain degree. Pricing, well, standardizing pricing, some organizations do, but because of currency conversions, raw material prices, labor costs, different taxations, all these things, the pricing is very difficult to standardize most of the time. Operational activities is your decision. How you operate in a market will largely depend on what sort of workforce, what sort of technology, what sort of platforms you adopt in order to operationalize your program. Depending on that, you may find it standardized or you may find it adapted. Example, international banks operating in various parts of the world. Most banks run a similar backend or banking operations program. So they have standardized. Let me give you the example of Standard Chartered Bank. If you look at the branch banking software, the network, the intranet, all these are standardized across the markets that they operate in. One thing, it keeps the costs to a minimum. Two, ease of governance, ease of monitoring, and also people moving across the markets, the staff find it much easier to adapt immediately and hit the ground running, if I may say that, when you have standardized programs across markets. So it is a debate whether you need to standardize or adapt. It will largely depend on your products, services, your organization, the markets that you operate in, and how you want your efficiencies and effectiveness of your operation brought out. Now, we said one of the key objectives or learning objectives that we have would be to look at the operational strategies, different structures. In the next video, we will look at different types of structures. Let me give you a hint here. Some organizations operate with a nucleus, a headquarters or head office in one country, and that's your native country most often. And in other countries, you have branches, representative officers, or your subsidiaries. But today, there is a rise in the number of organizations who have multi-domestic operations. That is, you have multiple domestic operations in different regions and countries. Maybe a region could be a hub, and that could be a domestic operation. That is because the industry standards could be diverse in these regions. Can you remember we spoke about culture, where Western cultures we said are more individualistic, while Eastern cultures are more collectivist societies. So in order to adapt to these cultural differences, economic, environmental differences, political differences, etc., you may have different approaches in different regions. So you can have a multi-domestic approach. Like for an example, you may have a bank which has the Gulf region governed by one particular country within the Gulf itself, Asia being governed by another larger operation in one country, the Far East governed by another country within the Far Eastern sector. One thing is that these very large global organizations find it much easier for them to operate when you have these type of multi-domestic hubs, because of governance, convenience, control mechanisms, reporting procedures, etc. So keep that in mind when we go into the next video.